you guys have a first quarter like you had last night, what do we maybe not see that's happened in the build up to the game as you guys are in the locker room getting ready? Is your first hitting the floor that's like leading to being able to jump out to that big of a lead that quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say just the preparation that we're kind of putting into ourselves and into the game, in our locker room. Obviously, you guys don't see behind the scene things that go on in the locker room and stuff, but some of the things that go into those first quarters are just our preparation in the locker room, our film study, our individual, maybe pregame routines and assessment that kind of go into our readiness behind the games.
On the offensive end for you this season, what's been your biggest focus and your kind of areas of improvement that you're trying to kind of track in on?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, beginning of the season, one of the things was just finding more threes, being able to kind of, find good ones and increase my volume there. But at the same time, still kind of maintaining the just level of, systematic play that, I've kind of been able to grow from, early on in my career. So just adding on some of those things, continuing to kind of play instinctual, but within our system.
You had a pass last night to Brandon, but it was like kind of behind the back, like you weren't looking at him, you were at the top of the key. Can you walk us through that play and then tell us kind of the chemistry you've been able to build with Brandon so far?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what happened. I think there was like a drive, and I caught the ball in the wing, and I think Brandon was in the paint initially. And when I drove, I saw him in the paint, so it was like kind of a clustered paint, but I saw him empty out, and he kind of like backpedaled out to the top of the key. And so when he backpedaled out, his man stayed in front of me, and my guy was still in my hip. So I knew he'd be open at the top of the key. So just trusting, I guess, his decision-making on the empty out and thinking that I knew where he was. I just kind of made a pass, and I thought that he'd be open. Great shooter, so his ability to kind of space around the perimeter, causes for, whoever's guarding him, which is normally a big, to either be in the paint and help or go out to him. And whatever decision the big man would have made, I would have had a layup or he would have had a three. So you're able to get him a three.
They obviously don't bring guys in who can't play or they don't think can play. But a guy like Brandon, people were surprised when he kind of broke out and knocked down those threes against Cleveland and everything else. What have you seen from him from when he got here to getting on the court for his first? Has he grown? Has he gotten more comfortable? Has he more confident? What have you seen?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say he's probably grown a little bit, and I definitely think he's gotten a little bit more comfortable just kind of learning and understanding the way that we kind of play, the style and the flow of everything. And in that, he's done a good job just kind of, growing into, finding an understanding of how he could fit in and how he could, be successful. So.
Eric, I wonder, I imagine the expectation around programs for Doug coming this year, you guys weren't expecting as many injuries. He was going to step into the complementary role he's kind of been. For him to, have to be a center for, the stretches he has been, to have the reps the other night where he's the main option, like the amount of shape shifting he's done this year, how have you seen him kind of embrace that?
I mean, he's done a really good job of it. I think his just natural reaction to it all has been, he's been extremely confident through all of it. And us as a team, we expect that of him. He's capable of, playing multiple positions. He's capable of providing different things throughout each and every game. So when different injuries happen or when certain things don't go the way we want and he's asked to step up to the plate to do anything on the court, we have confidence that he'll do it, better than a lot of us, and he's done a good job of just kind of being that guy for us this year.
And I know, like, sometimes he'll joke about the weight he's put on. Like, how much do you think that's factored into what he's sort of been able to do and what he's been asked to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obviously been an advantage for him, with his size, weight, but then his ability to kind of move the way he does. I mean, it gives him an advantage. Most guys in the league can't guard, the number of positions he can guard. Most guys in the league can't play offensively, as quick as he can, but then also, under control and with the strength that he kind of plays with. So he's done a good job just using his size, his weight, obviously, and, to the best of his ability.
Did you play a lot of different sports growing up? Do a lot of different activities besides basketball?
I played a couple different sports and extracurricular activities.
What
Yeah,
did you do?
football. Those are the two sports that I liked. Track, and then some extracurricular activities.
Did any of those things help with it? It just seems like your balance and the ability to kind of bend different directions, maintain your footwork, all that stuff. Do you attribute that more to being in sort of professional strength and conditioning environments like you have been the last 8 years basically, or more even going back to how you grew up and the different experiences you had?
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, I actually did dance up until like 7th grade, competitive dance. And I'd say that kind of contributed to, some of just my advanced, as a young kid, my advanced like footwork and balance early on. I want to say in middle school and high school, I kind of had good footwork and control, and I didn't know what to point that to. And maybe after high school, I kind of was able to say, like, maybe that helped a little bit. So, I don't know. I guess those things.
How excited are you to kind of see Mark coach an All-Star game?
Oh, yeah, I'm happy for him. I'm glad he gets to have that experience, the whole staff. Maybe we'll get some other guys to go out there just to kind of be a part of it since we'll already have some guys playing. So, that'll be fun.
Do you guys do any scoreboard watching? Like keep an eye on Cleveland, anything like that, or anybody else in the West?
I mean, guys watch basketball, so, like, guys will watch the games and you see and you keep up with, the big news and stuff, but I don't think we never have conversations and stuff like that or in the locker room, like, well, Cleveland here or, nah, not really.
Mark, is your anticipation that Dub will be good to go tomorrow or on Wednesday, or still?
We'll update you guys with the portal.
And then, just the guys have talked about the preparation and, the things that they did leading into the game last night. Not different than before, but just from your perspective, what does it take for a team to be ready to deliver a punch the way that you guys did in the first, 12 minutes of that game last night?
I mean, we didn't prepare any differently. We were rested. I thought I thought we were fatigued in Dallas going back and watching the game a little bit, just looking at some of the mistakes we made. They were a little uncharacteristic. They were like focused things that we usually are very sharp on. So, thought the East Coast trip and then coming home, playing the Cleveland game, and then having that was kind of a sneaky, tough game that I wasn't even protecting against in the game. It was almost after the fact. I just felt like we were a little toasted. So, we got some rest the next day and filled the tank a little, and I thought we were much sharper.
More bigger picture-wise, like the weight that Dub has added since his rookie year, how has that maybe changed what you ask of him?
Like physically?
Mm-hmm.
It's not. I mean, I guess it's not. What we're asking of him isn't necessarily related to that. It's more. You look at what they're capable of, and as they kind of clear hurdles, you just keep putting new hurdles in front of them, and he just keeps clearing the hurdles on both ends of the floor. In terms of the matchups he can take, in terms of offensively the load he can handle, and he's just been a guy that, as you put new challenges in front of him, or as you ask him to evolve and expand, he's able to kind of carry the weight of that. And his physical development probably has something to do with that, but they're not related, at least in my mind.
And I guess, I know you guys try to set aside external expectations. I guess, since the beginning of time, the beginning of the sport we played, I guess a young star like him, the expectations come quick, even though he's in year 3. I guess, how have you seen him try to keep his development and, his rise in perspective, even considering what's expected of him outside this building?
Yeah, I mean, and what's expected of him internally. I mean, he's got a high bar for himself too. So, at the end of the day, he's only in his 3rd season. He's got a runway to improve. And one thing I've mentioned to you guys publicly, it's something I've expressed to him, is that good is the enemy of great. That's a great quote. And, you can't let what you're good at get in the way of becoming great. And he's already like beyond a good player. He's probably already a great player because of just the volume of things that he does on the floor and how it impacts the team and impacts success. But he can still evolve, and I give him a lot of credit because in the face of some success, some early success in his career, he's still leaning into situations where he's trying to evolve himself and sometimes putting himself at risk of failing in order to do that, especially with some of the driving and some of the forceful plays that we've talked about quite a bit this season. Those aren't all ending well, and yet he's continuing to put himself in those situations because it's an investment in his long-term development as a great player. And so I give him a lot of credit for that because he's doing that in the face of success as well.
What did you make of the ball movement last night? It just felt like the ball was particularly just moving around the court pretty well, and then specifically the role that Shea had in helping to facilitate something.
Yeah, I mean, some of it is always the defense, and they were doubling him quite a bit, and so when they're doubling him, that's what they're basically daring him to do. And he was off it really quickly last night. I thought he had a really good blend. He got doubled a lot last night, and sometimes he attacked the double teams, split the double teams, bent the double teams, and took them on, which I think is important. It discourages the doubles when he does that because it's if you send two at him and he beats both of them, now you're really behind the thing. But he also just blended that with like getting off it early on some plays and throwing it to the pocket and letting the next guy make the play. And he just continues to find a great blend. But I do think that how the defense plays sometimes contributes to the way it looks optically.
When Shea gets doubled this season, I mean, obviously this isn't the first year that he's dealt with those sort of things. How have you seen him improve with handling those situations versus maybe this time last year?
He's improved continuously over time. I think the thing that has been a quiet development for him is just how much gas he's played with and how quickly he's playing on the catch. I thought last night he was doing that. They're trying to like send two to him, and he's beating it before it can even get to him. I thought that happened in the Cleveland game in the third quarter. They started to try to mess with him. They tried boxing one a couple times. They tried doubling him, and he was almost like too fast for it. Like they couldn't even set it. And so I think that's been a huge thing. I think if you go back in not necessarily last season, but early in his career, his first year, with the ball in his hands 5 years ago, he would be a lot slower in those situations, and he's just more of a static target for the defense when he's like that.
Is the list pretty short in the NBA of guys that can beat the double team just by themselves without the pass?
Well, not everybody gets doubled, so you have to, right there, it's like it's a short list of people that, I mean, you're volunteering rotation when you do that, so it's really tough. But the like water bug guard, like Trae Young's hard to double.
Yeah.
Like he's hard to get to. Morant's hard to get to. Fox has got speed. Shea's natural pace as a player is not that kind of speed, but he's like taught himself how to play faster in order to, beat defenses that either try to double him or teams will try to like load up on him. They don't necessarily send it to the ball, but they'll like load behind it.
Yeah.
And but that still takes time to set. So if you're like on the gas quickly, you can like be in the paint before that gets there, and he's really learned that. He's done a great job.
Doesn't it help you got bigs like especially Hart? They know how to pass. If they get it, they know what to do with it. Don't turn over.
Yeah, Hart, Jay Will last night, I thought he was on that. And in the Cleveland game, he found some really nice plays. And then the guards sometimes too. Like Caruso had a couple really good plays in the pocket against Cleveland. Because sometimes they'll, they don't do it with the big, but they'll do it to protect a matchup. So if you're going at a guard matchup, they don't want to switch the guard onto him. They'll put two on Shea, and now somebody else is in the pocket. It's not always the big. But that's a pretty relevant skill for us. It's something we work on with a lot of different players for that reason, because we just know that's one of the things teams are going to go to, when he's got it going the way he does right now.
I got a chance to ask you, too, when you lost A.J. Mitchell, you guys on the road, about the same time Caruso came back, maybe a couple days. Rookie veteran, what did you lose? What did you gain? What that Caruso can cover up that Mitchell, because he was obviously a key rotation guy for you.
Yeah.
How does he cover up, make that loss, I guess, less painful, I guess?
Yeah, we'd love to have both, but just part of the deal. I mean, I thought AJ was providing great stability with the ball as a secondary, not only handler, but creator. I mean, he was creating offense for us, and I thought was really gaining confidence. You never want to see a guy get hurt, but the timing of it was good for him because he's got some miles, underneath him now, and he kind of knows what to expect now. He's played some games, he's had some experiences, so now he can watch and he can contextualize what he's seeing in a much different way than if he had no experience and was hurt. But yeah, I mean, he was providing great utility for us. He was doing a great job, and then Alex, different player, but brings great steadiness to the court and a great system player. The system's always better when he's out there on both ends of the floor. He keeps you connected side to side. He's a ball mover. He's a great screen setter. He's a great cutter. He stays on the offensive glass. He plays with quick decisions on offense, and then defensively he speaks for himself. So, I mean, we're gaining a huge bump there by getting him back. But, we're better with everybody healthy for sure.
Mark, the schedule's kind of set up to where you're playing, the same team twice in a week, like Cleveland and with New York and now Dallas. Is there any advantages to that, kind of being able to implement what you saw the first time around?
Yeah, I think, like I said, after the Cleveland game, and New York was like that too. Sometimes you play these teams like with huge distance, and like Boston's a good example. Like we play them a couple weeks ago, and then we don't see them again for like 2 months. So it's like the next time we play them, there's stuff we'll take from that game, but it's not quite as fresh and as relevant because they'll evolve, we'll evolve. We've had injuries since then. They could take some injuries. And so, it's a little less transferable. It's helpful. Dallas is going to be similar personnel-wise, so we'll be able to take stuff from that game. But, yeah, it's beneficial to us, beneficial to the opponent, too, because you could see, like I said in the Cleveland game, you could see how they are reacting to you, which you can learn as much about, rather than always focusing on learning about them. Learning how they see you is important for us. It just is good insight and good wisdom for us right now.
Mark, just going back to the way Shea is beating some of these coverages, it feels like in recent weeks he's thrown more skip passes and skip passes than ever, some more creative passes. Do you feel like he's been more creative with some of that stuff in the end? Like, if so, is that something you expected to happen naturally?
Well, I'm never surprised when he evolves and improves. It's all he's ever done, literally, is get better. I think the passing chops that he's showing right now has more to do with timing, to be honest. At least that's how I see it. I think he's earlier, in passing in an anticipatory fashion, whereas, again, if you go back to 5 years ago, he was a very reactive passer. It was like he would try to score, and once that was taken away, he would be passing as a reaction to getting stopped. Now he kind of understands where the play is going to go, and he can anticipate. He can look at the picture now and understand what's going to be there. Can I punch this gap or not? And if he can't, he's now moving it early in anticipation of the help, which puts the defense at a disadvantage and puts the offense at an advantage. So it has kind of a duplicative benefit. And he's gotten better and better and better at that. It's not like he just woke up one day and did it. He's smoothed that out over time, but he seems to be in a very good rhythm with that.
And you talked before about this kind of fight. He fights the temptation where he has the will to score most tripped down. I guess this evolution that you're describing now, like how necessary is that for the postseason setting? What you guys hope to do if you get there when you get there?
Yeah, when I talk about that, I'm not projecting. It's more like I can only imagine how difficult it is if you can score every possession, how difficult it is not to try to do that. I've never been in that situation where I felt like I could score every possession, unless I was playing like my son, who's 3. I can dominate that little guy right now. But I think he's seeing the bigger picture on a number of things. He wants to be a great player. He sees the game as a puzzle that he's trying to solve. And I think if you listen to him talk about improving, that's kind of how he views it. There's almost like there's a purity to the way that he looks at improvement. So some of it's that. Some of it is, being able to have a game that transfers to the biggest games. and some of it is the empowerment of your teammates. You know, when you're that good of a player, your gravity is such that, you know, you can manipulate the defense more than anybody else, and you can activate your teammates more than anybody else. And I think that's another thing that he's, you know, certainly been thinking about over time. It's not like he just started thinking about it now, but he's really putting his team at advantages and doing his stuff inside the system, which is allowing the game to be easier for everybody, including him. You know, I think in some of these games, the games come very easy to him because of the way he's playing and because of how early he's off it and how he is trying to activate everybody, and he's forcing the defense to pick their poison.
Just for us, over the course of the season, like when you talk about him being more open about his improvement, like it feels from our point of view, at least among some of us, that he's been more introspective about, you know, the trials and I guess his vision for himself over the course of the season. I imagine your conversations with him are more open, but does it feel like he's gotten more introspective through years or even over the course of the season about his own stuff, his vision, his trials, whatever?
I think he's always had that. You know, I think that's one of the things that's made him pretty special. I mean, we're not just learning that he's special now. You know, he's clearly playing on a ridiculously high level right now, but he's been special for a long time, and we've known that for a long time. And I think one of the qualities that's made him special is how young he was at the time and how little, how many things were ahead of him that he wanted to accomplish, and yet how introspective he was. He's always been like that. He always has taken full responsibility for his game. He doesn't point fingers. He doesn't make excuses. He looks in the mirror and he gets to work. And it's a pretty rare quality for someone that was that young, you know, to have that type of mindset to it. You know, he's always been like that, you know, and he continues to be like that. But I wouldn't represent that it's just happening this year or now.
That's part of, because he's had a string of games where he hadn't played the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
In an MVP race, he's leading the league in scoring. That he doesn't feel, or maybe you don't feel, because after you talk to the coaches, guys got to get their points, so it doesn't appear that he's like that, you know, because he hasn't played in the fourth quarter the last few ball games.
Yeah, I mean, he's great with that stuff, first of all. You know, he gives me a lot of space. I'm a better coach because I coach him. You know, he doesn't tie a hand behind my back, you know, at all. He's a very coachable guy. That's trusting and that is collaborative. He's a great partner with stuff like that. And the way I look at that is it keeps him fresh. So you might get a sharper, he might just have a little bit more pop because you're saving some of those minutes. And we're also trying to develop the team, you know, and so those minutes are important to develop a lot of different things with the team. Sometimes it's, you know, if you notice earlier in the season, we would play Kaysen on the ball in those minutes. And now all of a sudden Dub's out against Brooklyn and Kaysen's playing on the ball in like the game in the second quarter, you know. Or I mentioned Carlson the other night. He's a great example. Wiggins has played a lot of those minutes, has had on-ball reps in those minutes. It allows you to kind of check in on other guys that, you know, have played with the blue or that haven't gotten as much burn. Those minutes are valuable to developing the entire team. And so, you know, to use them, you know, to burn him in his 36th minute in a 20-point game, I'm not sure that's good for him. I'm not sure that's good for the team. But it requires one seeing the big picture, and, you know, fortunately for me and for us, he sees the big picture.
Mark, with the
Last one for Coach.
with the All-Star format, one of your assistants are going to get the chance to coach one of the 4 teams. Has anybody on staff been eager to take the opportunity?
You're really digging in on the All-Star thing. We haven't gotten a lot of information, right? And I know this seems to be a very high priority for you, but it's not a very high priority for me. I'm going to get out there, and at that point, I'll think about it, trying to, you know, help our team get better and get ready for Utah. So I don't even have all the information yet. When we do, I'll give you an exclusive interview on it. How about that? You're going to break it, you know, whatever. It's all yours. But I don't have it yet. I'm not really thinking about it.
Thanks, guys.